Assalamu alaikum. I know it's been a while. Um, Lots have been happening in my life. Mostly, I sort of abandoned this channel because it's heavily censored. Every time I post on other sites, on other videos, it's people I have try to have dialect with. My comments are always censored, and I try to say things with love and light in a way that'll be received. So in no way whatsoever are they insults, harassment, anything like that. It's truth. The truth is being censored. So I'm going to start my introduction today with a man named Helmuth Hubener. Now, I have to tell you about how this resonates with my own story. Talib al-Hakiki, which is a part of my channel's name, it means seeker of truth. Those who do not know, that's what it means. This name was given to me by the Imam. And like I said, on YouTube, I don't have social media. Except for YouTube, and I'm really not a big fan of it. But it's like even when I post on my own channel, on my own video, someone will message me and my comment is, when I reply, it's shadow banned. It's heavily censored. YouTube is very biased. It's very controlled, the information on its platform. Now, there are some comments on my YouTube on videos that are very insulting, things that people say. And me as a creator of this channel, which I don't really like to say I'm a creator because it's only out of obligation. But I have the ability to delete those comments, to block these people. And I don't, because I believe in freedom of speech. Which is why I find Helmuth Hubener, I find him so inspiring. I wrote a few things down, so I'm trying to follow along with it because I'm not good with this. I have a lot of anxiety. I feel a lot like Moses in the sense, Ya Allah, untie the knot in my tongue, loosen the breastplates in my chest. Moses, he was a staggering soul. He dealt with a lot of anxiety, and his story, when Allah had called upon him to be the messenger and relay the message, he first, he didn't know how he would do it. So his brother had helped him with that. I found another means to help express myself that's not as, anxiety filled like this, but I'll work with this because I haven't posted here in a while. And I think today's message is very, very important, which is why I'm coming back and doing this for you. Now, Helmuth Hubener was a 16-year-old German boy in Nazi Germany, in one of the darkest regimes. He came from a middle-class family, and he spoke truth. He refused to allow his moral compass to be compromised out of comfort. Now, he had gotten a position in this newspaper, and in the newspaper there was an area in the cellar, in the basement area, that he dealt with a lot of the archives. He had access to some of these banned books in Germany at the time. He used a lot of this information. He started to see through the Nazi regime. the propaganda that was being pushed at the time and the censorship of information. He got a hold, him and a few of his buddies got a hold of this radio that was considered contraband, and if he was caught with this radio, it would have been a death penalty. So he had access with this radio to other news channels like the BBC. The BBC I'm going to talk a lot about. But he heard information about the war, and he realized that, you know, a lot of the information that he was given by the Nazi government were lies. And he saw one by one as his classmates were disappearing. These were Jewish classmates. But he had this one friend, and please forgive me, his name slips my mind, but he was a Jewish man, Jewish kid, I'm sorry, he was just a boy. He was very close to this kid, and one day he disappeared. He was never to be seen again. Now, what I find so inspirational about Hubener, sorry, I'm very nervous. He was such a young soul, and he knew that things were wrong, and he knew the consequences of speaking truth, but he found a way to do it. And he knew the consequences that would come if he got caught. He started to write pamphlets, and he put information that he was hearing from the BBC, and he quoted some of these authors who at the time, some were big, some were not, but their books were banned. So he quoted some banned books, and he started to wake people up. He didn't get very far before the Nazi regime caught up with him, and he was arrested. His two friends, he had recruited two friends to help him distribute the pamphlets, and they were all arrested. Helmuth he had just turned 17 at the time. He actually turned 17 while he was in captivity. I'm saying this to show you just how young this boy was. He refused to bend. You know, they wanted to throw the older of the three boys in, you know, pin it all on him. And he refused to do that. He refused to sell his friend out. He, even in court, he stood up for what was true. And eventually, he was sentenced to guillotine. 17 years old. I'm trying not to get emotional because I've been thinking about this boy for 2 days now. I've heard his name for 2 days now. He was just a baby, but he was so brave, even in those moments. He was so brave, even in the you know, knowing that he had to do what was right, and he stood by his conviction until the very end. He was executed. Now, let me see. He distributed the leaflets. The Gestapo's caught him. Okay, so let's do some reflections on this. And today, I stand in this world, and I stand all alone. I still don't have friends. I don't leave my house that much, but I've been doing it a little bit more. I have a direction of where I want to go in life now. I find the purpose in Allah and the trials that He put in front of me. I see how He's built me up. But I look at this young boy, just 17 years old, And I try to teach my kids to not fear death. And this boy did not fear death. I teach them to stand fast to truth. I try to help them see through the propaganda that is running rapid on our televisions. I don't care if I live or die. And I know people don't really, I know it's talk for a lot of people, but it's not for me. I don't fear my own death. I fear about facing Allah, knowing what I know, and not standing up for truth. I can be censored, and I'll still keep trying to speak. I can be hated by the communities around me, and I have to speak the truth, whether it's received well or not. There's a huge divide in this country and around the world, and I know recently there's been a so-called peace in Palestine, ceasefire, but we cannot forget. Okay, the statistics that I keep hearing is 67,000 have been killed because of this war. Now, the number is way higher than that. I hear of a number from the Lenkins or something like that report. It says that over 500,000 Palestinians, now this is a broader number because it's not just those killed in the war. These are people who have been injured and brought to the hospital and died later from their injuries. People who have been starved, because it's a big tactic that they used for this genocide, and that's what it is a genocide. There is people who have diabetes, cancer, who weren't able to get their treatments and have died for those reasons. Pregnant women miscarrying, or when their babies were born, they were so deprived of any nutrients that they had no milk to feed their infants. And their infants died. I mean, so many parents buried their children. And I am a parent who buried a child. It's the worst thing you'll ever have to go through in life. So my heart really goes out to them. I think about Palestine all the time, and I don't want people to forget it. It's not over yet. Justice has not been served. This peace deal that they have, it doesn't benefit them, only that, maybe the bloodshed will stop. And I looked at some more numbers too, and there's even more that are dying even after. A crazy amount of day, for whatever reason. And I know people watch mainstream media here, and that's what they buy as their news, but you cannot deny that babies, children with bullet wounds in their head, this is a sniper attack. I'm a soldier, I know war tactics. This is sniper, this is an accidental fire. What did that child do? There's no justification of this. People run with the narrative that Hamas is using them as human shields. Well, there's no reason to kill an innocent life. Hamas, if he's hiding in these tunnels, then how are they killing all the people on top? It doesn't make sense. And then I wish people would wake up to all the technology we have today. Come on. I thought this way back when we were all after Osama bin Laden. It's such a hard guy to find. We have all this technology. I know the police here in America have equipment that can actually see through the walls in your home and know exactly where you're at. They can't find some man in a tunnel. And to justify that, they're going to kill, I'll give you the smallest number, which is 67,000 Palestinians. Make it make sense. It's not right. And then the Geneva Convention, what do we even have that for? There's not a hospital standing in Palestine. Christians have been killed right along with the Muslims, right along with whatever else they believe in, because it's not just a Muslim country. Muslim majority, yes, but they lived peacefully. Like, Muslims do not seek out other religions, force them to convert. This is propaganda you're hearing. Propaganda I once believed myself, but when I learned the truth, I have to speak the truth. And that's what Helmuth has done. And he paid the ultimate price for it. We all need to be willing to, if a 17-year-old boy is willing to stand so strong and so brave in all this, then what is your excuse? We need to take inspiration from him and those who have also been martyrs in the cause. I don't want you guys to get all lost in the noise of it's like the dog and pony show I keep talking about. It's what it is. It's a dog and pony show. You have the Epstein files, that's been top and heavy, that was one of the things that Trump promised, didn't fulfill. But it's like, we have all this evidence. We know about this sex trafficking, this child sex trafficking, human sex trafficking. There's been, Hillary Clinton has been tied to the kids in Haiti that's been coming up missing. Her name is in this. She's been tied to this, We just pretend it doesn't happen, And it's like they let Justine Maxwell out of prison. And P. Diddy, I mean, come on. It's like he gets a slap on the hand. But we will riot in the streets over a man named George Floyd. And I still don't know the full story of that. I'm not saying it was right. I'm not saying it's wrong. Okay? I do think the police here are very abusive with their power. I've experienced it myself. But why aren't we rioting in the streets over these things? Is it because they're politicians? Are we afraid? Why isn't it that we're not rioting in the streets? And I don't want to say riot, but we can do peaceful things about it. So please don't twist my words. But I mean, the extreme that I've seen things go, why are these matters important? In Palestine, there's been so many children that's come up missing. Right here in the United States, they're rounding up the Mexicans, hauling them off into concentration camps, because that is what they are. And again, children are missing. People are unaccounted for, but nobody, I mean, it's like there's people protesting, but it needs to be more. I'm not talking violence, okay? I wrote about Gandhi. Gandhi took down the biggest empire in the world, the British Empire. He took it down. How did he do it? Non-compliance. He spoke his truth, and the people listened, and nobody, he wasn't afraid to go to jail. He wasn't afraid to die. He made a quote, and I'm not going to remember it right now, but he said something on the lines of, you will never know the outcome, but if you do nothing, there will be no outcome. So he wasn't afraid of, he knew something had to be done, so he did it. And he did it peacefully. And I do think that is the best tactic. It's the most Gandhi. I mean, look at what he did. I pray that you research him a little bit more and find his tactics, because they work. It's what I keep telling people here. There are ads running around about, applying for ICE. These are the people that are rounding up the immigrants. they're offering them all sorts of incentives, and it's like, why would anyone even want to take that position? How do they feel morally about this? And they're trying to scare people with the economy and our jobs. Oh, the Mexicans are taking all of our jobs. But something to think about is, I remember when I got my first apartment. I was young. I was able to work a full-time job. I was able to pay my bills, and I still had spending money. So the fact that we have people who have to work 2, sometimes 3 jobs, a family, if they're lucky enough to be together, because the nuclear family is destroyed. But it's not a problem with laziness. It's a problem with the economy. And it's not that the Mexicans are taking our jobs. So where are these jobs? I mean, no one is asking these questions. I've heard politicians promise this, promise that, and I haven't seen one ever fulfill what they promised. I know I've fallen for a couple politicians, believing that there's something different about them, but there's not. But we keep waiting for someone to save us, some hero. A lot of people think that it is Trump. There are a huge population here in this country right now who thinks that the economy is doing great. We're terribly in debt. Like, this economy is so far from good. I don't know how they can't see that the lack of jobs, prices of everything have gone up. Groceries, I went to get lunch for my son. We went on a field trip. I spent $120 on just like 4 bags of groceries. It was insane. It's not going to get any better. The best we can do is to stop complying to this all. Law enforcement, stop with the tyranny. Like, have a soul. I know there's some good officers out there. I actually know an officer. I think he's an amazing man. And I've known him for like 10 years, and I've seen him work in the community. So I'm not saying, the whole, okay? But I have also been very, police in my area, in my town, if they feel that you don't know your laws, they will try to abuse your freedom. And I had to get smart by a lot of things, because I did feel that I was being targeted. Don't apply for these positions that, like ICE, okay? There's not an immigration problem. Who they're rounding up, it's like they're labeling them as criminals, okay? I do think that, yeah, there's some criminals that slip through. But I mean, the records are showing a different story. There are people who have just traffic violations that are being labeled as a criminal. I mean, I've got speeding tickets. If you haven't gotten a speeding ticket in your life, I don't know, good for you. But I mean, does that make you a criminal? It's just, it doesn't make sense. Like, they're arresting people at the courthouses. And I had a conversation with someone about this recently too, and it's like, well, they're at the courthouse, they're a criminal. Well, do you think that if they were doing illegal things that, they're at a court, do you think they would have showed up for their court appointment? Like, these are people trying to do the right thing. trying to go by the legal system, and yet it doesn't matter, you know? I know people are calling this country a white Christian nationalist, and that's hypocrisy too. It's like this country, it's based on freedom of religion. That's why the pilgrims actually came here, for religious freedom. And there's a lot of history, a lot of Muslim influence on this country. I encourage you all to look up Thomas Jefferson and see how much he appreciated the Quran. And things would be better actually if we did have more of what the Muslims had taught us. Like the Muslims, they use a 2% sales or tax. That's what they charge, is a 2%. Anymore, it's haram. It's against God to just pirate people like that. But we have a 10% sales tax. It's like we're taxed when we make the money before it even goes into our paychecks. And then we're taxed when we go to spend the money. Our employers are taxed before they pay us. Like, how much tax are they actually taking from us? You know? And then it's like, I know so many people who are being silenced right now who do not want, you know, money to go into these heinous acts like, you know, bombing kids in Gaza. But yet we don't have a say where our tax paying money goes to. I can think of a million things that, you know, our tax paying money could benefit the American people. And it's not right. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer. There's a monopoly on housing right now. There are groups, corporations who are buying up all the, I have some behind my house, they built apartments and stuff. It really sucks. But none of them are for sale. They're all for rent, apartments and houses. It's a subdivision back there. And the cost of rent is unaffordable, and they don't care. Like the crisis in this country is caused, you know, it's like it's a problem with our politics. It's a problem with our government. It's not a problem with the people. People want to attack people on welfare. People want to attack people for being homeless. And it's like, yeah, there's some homeless people who do drugs, and I have encountered them. I used to work for the city of Orlando, subcontracting my boss city cleanups, and I have seen a side of homelessness that is just, no, we're not out there picking on homeless people. When they trash places like that, you know, I'm also a Boy Scout, leave no trace. Like, it's just not right. But I know many homeless vets who they think that they're mentally, you know, insane, or not insane, but mentally, you know, not mentally right, mentally ill. But really, they just see the government for what it is. There's a lot of vets, okay, that see things for what it is. They are done with the slave system. And yes, there's more slaves today than there ever was in the history of mankind. You're slave to this debt system. You know, it's like, why are we taught to climb the corporate ladder? Because there's no hopes of actually owning the corporation, you know? But they're just tired of the 9 to 5 and the nonsense of never getting ahead. I do see a lot of bad things happening in this country. I do see a lot of psyops happening. It's really scary. And what happened in Helmuth's day is happening now. So there are some parallels. I'd like to share some quotes with you. These are some of the quotes that Helmuth had shared in his brochures that he passed around. Silence in the face of evil is itself evil. God will not hold us guiltless. Like, he judges us based on what we know. And ignorance is not acceptable either. That's laziness. Your silence is an act. It is an action. Your silence in everything. Anne Frank quoted, "How wonderful is it that nobody needs to wait a single moment before starting to improve the world." This is important because it shows that it has to be now. You know, another brave, beautiful soul lost so young. People stayed quiet when they shouldn't have. I just said Gandhi's quote, "You will never know what results come of your actions, but if you do nothing, there will be no result." And then Martin Luther King, okay, these two obviously were not Helmuth's, but important quotes. The time is always right now to do what is right. Now, let me see. I think I have a little bit more. Tolerance becomes a crime when applied to evil. Unhappy is the land that needs a hero. That sounds right here. That's the home front right here. I promise you, Trump is not your hero. Your first discernment should be everyone, talking about how he was God sent. There's an easy fix to this country. Stop allowing the rich to get richer. It's not an even playing ground. And rules for thee and not for, rules for me but not for thee. This is why things are so upside down. Okay. Now, I want to talk to you. The reason why I am speaking about Helmuth, and I can articulate it so much better in writing, and I did do a piece on it. I've been working on it for 2 days now. I don't watch movies or TV, and anyone who knows me knows this, but if I recommend a movie, especially a studio, a production company, that should speak volumes, okay? I don't like to waste my time on frivolous things. I like to feel fulfilled when I receive any information. And most of the information that's on TV or in the theaters, it doesn't, resonate with me. Um, but Angel Studios, they brought to life Helmuth, his story, in a movie called Truth and Treason. And I saw that movie on the 16th. I was very blessed to befriend a beautiful Christian lady, and she invited me to watch it. And I can't tell you how much that movie, it's just, I cried. To hear such a young man be so courageous in a time when I see so many cowards around me. But anyways, this production company, it's called Angel Productions. And I researched them because I do this. I boycott more things than what you can ever imagine. Every time I hear anything that's wrong with a company, I've given up so many things that I actually enjoy because I just don't want any part of the immoral, behaviors of these companies to create this product. So when like I said, I speak volumes, when I promote something, but Angel Studios is ran by 3 brothers and their cousin, the Helmuth brothers, or Harmon brothers, sorry. Neil, Jeffrey, Jordan, Daniel, and their cousin, Benton Kane. They are Mormon, and their company is based in Utah. But this Christian friend of mine, I watched some of these films with her, and I'm so impressed because it's very religious based, spiritual based, and things with good moral purpose, valuable, material to absorb. But it's not okay because I a lot of mainstream, a lot of the news, it's bought out by the Zionists and the agenda. That's why you have all these movies and productions that paint Muslims a certain way, and all sorts of things. But it's not owned by the Zionists, and that's the most important thing to me. Well, I guess the most important thing is the good moral compass that this company has. The material that they're trying to push, it has a purpose for God, to help the spirit grow. And yeah, definitely that they're not Zionists. So I am mentioning them. And last, I want to leave with you. I hate doing videos, okay? But I just felt this necessary. Talk about such a brave young man, and he was barely a man, still very much a boy. But anyways, so I want to invite you to reflect on your own life. What small acts of courage can you take today to stand up for what you believe is right? And like I said, I'll bring it, I'll say it again. This boy was only 16. He was held in captivity for 6 months. He turned 17 while he was in Nazi custody. He lost his life when he was 17 years and 3 months. And he was the bravest man when he went to his guillotine. The last thing that he had said before they executed him, He said, I have a clear conscience. I know I chose right over easy, truth over comfort. I am ready. Those were the documented words of his last, Well, I'll end this. I really hope that this resonates, I hope that it helps research this man. I'll leave his name in the description. It's Helmuth Hubener. Trying to find it. Sorry. Helmuth Hubener. He is a very important historical figure that should resonate with every free soul in this world today. And I have sort of abandoned this site because, like I said, the censorship is just so bad. So if you can, like and share. I hate saying that, but yeah, it does help the algorithms. It helps push it. I don't have social media, so I really, need your help. I have a different channel on YouTube that I do more writing pieces. I can articulate things much better, and I can, wash out the emotions that I have. I'm a very empathetic person, and I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. I never liked videos. I never, I'm not an actress. I'm not a public speaker. I'm more, the quiet one in the corner observing. And what pushed me to do things like this is the censorship. I see terrible things wrong. Truth is the first to go, is the first casualty in war. It's hard, and I'm just trying to find my way. I'll go to my grave a free woman. I'll go to my grave speaking truth. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you for listening. Assalamu alaikum.